I think the Church Fathers are overrated. When you challenge Christianity's foundation myths, Christians may sometimes bring up the Church Fathers. Sometimes they'll even try to proof text the Church Fathers the same way they do the Bible. Now, first of all, this is a tack I observe in evangelism and apologetic methods that I see as an escalation of the lowest effort. This isn't information that Christians lead with, and here's why. Religions are almost always trying to convert people with minimal effort. They don't ask you to read their entire holy book so you can make an informed decision before converting. They may guide you through a selection of passages, or just ask you to pray about it. If you've read the whole book already, then that may actually make their job harder. It's only if they assess that you could know as much or more about the Bible that they escalate to a secondary point of reference, like church history. Religions are also usually assuming that the only reason for you not to believe their religion is because you know less about it than they do. If you demonstrate equal or superior knowledge about the Bible, then they need to reassert dominance by finding a knowledge gap in another topic. This is how cults succeed, even with the most ridiculous beliefs, because they know their doctrine better than you do. So if they can keep the conversation in balance, then they can eventually wear down the resistance of prospective converts, even those who are more intelligent or better educated. Who or what are the Church Fathers? The Fathers of the Church were Christian theologians who are said to have established the intellectual and doctrinal foundations of Christianity in its formative period between the 1st and 8th centuries, particularly when Christianity was positioning itself as the state religion of the Roman Empire. Now don't get me wrong, I highly recommend anybody with an interest in Christianity or history to read the Church Fathers. It's easy for us to forget that any books written before the 15th century only exist today because somebody thought they were important enough to copy by hand. It's astonishing how many books existed like this for centuries, and most of them modern readers have never even heard of. It's also tragic how many books from this period don't survive, only survive partially in fragments, or only as references or quotations in extant books. So why do I say the Church Fathers are overrated? As a rule, I don't engage with in-universe discussions about religion. Just like I don't care if Superman can beat the Incredible Hulk, I don't assume that a religious text or its mythological framework are real. That includes things like the origins of a sacred text, which is usually a foundation myth. Similarly, the Church Fathers are a perpetuation of this myth, just engineered in reverse. The Church Fathers can be useful as a snapshot of what people believed at a specific place and time, but they don't give us a full picture. We know that from the start, there were a wide range of beliefs and texts that circulated in the early days of Christianity. Some of these simply didn't survive in the marketplace of ideas. Papyri had a shelf life, and if nobody saw the value in making a manual copy, then it eventually disappeared. Today, we think of the written word as permanent once published, but in antiquity, it was seen as ephemeral. It's a lot like the way movies were viewed at the dawn of cinema. Most studios and producers did not think to preserve copies of their film. When sound came along, many even discarded their libraries of silent movies, thinking they no longer had any value. There weren't movements to archive films until decades later, by which time 75 to 80% of silent films were lost forever. Some movies only survive in fragments, or sometimes the only part that survives was an excerpt that was used in a later movie. At first, opposing sects would discourage rival teachings, but when the Roman Empire favored a particular inclination, the institutional church acquired more aggressive state-sponsored means of suppression. The church banished or burned any contradictory beliefs, and then pretended that only a singular Christianity ever existed. As much as Christians may want to believe their religion spread on the virtue of its ideas through free will rather than coercion, you have to admit that these tactics do not belong in a free society. These suppressed movements were not insignificant or unpopular. At its height in the 4th century, half of the Roman Empire was predominantly Arian. But the Trinitarians were given outsized representation ever since, and the ones who are now considered to be Church Fathers were selected by their alignment to doctrines that were held to be orthodox in hindsight. Even some Trinitarian supporters later found themselves at odds over issues that Trinitarians today wouldn't even notice. What we think of as orthodoxy is really just a kind of survivorship bias. This classification only becomes more questionable when you try to backtrack earlier than Nicaea. Trinitarians love to cite Tertullian as a proto-Trinitarian, but they won't claim him as a church father. Like many so-called heretics, Origen wasn't condemned until long after his death, but he's still commonly referenced, like some sort of Schrodinger's theologian. The way the church tries to carve out the church fathers to exclude certain voices is what I would call theological gerrymandering. Like politicians picking their voters instead of the voters picking their politicians, The church is drawing its theological boundaries around its favorites and leading you to believe that those individuals represent its development. So if you're trying to cite any of the church fathers as historical proof of Orthodox beliefs, then you're really operating within a mythological framework. It's not a coincidence that these figures maintain the doctrines that would be declared as orthodox. You are connecting the dots you were told to and coming to a foregone conclusion. The very existence of a category of church fathers is a deliberately constructed confirmation bias. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and even if you don't agree with me, I hope this has been informative.